I'm going to introduce myself. My name is Cassandra Marrero. I'm a white woman, 40 years old, long brunette hair, wearing glasses and a black top. I'm the Microsoft Teams Product Marketing Manager, and I also lead the Microsoft UK Accessibility Champions community. Microsoft has made some great strides in how modern workplace applications enable productivity and inclusion for people with disabilities. We look at how we can provide a more personalized and an efficient working experience for everyone, no matter what their needs may be. And within Windows 10 and Office 365, we have the settings that can enable us to increase readability and comprehension. It can also enable us to consume content easier, from people with color blindness, dyslexia, or other print disabilities to emerging readers and even those learning a new language. So today, my colleagues and I are going to be showing you some of our favorite accessibility features in Microsoft 365, but we're not going to even touch a portion of all of the things that are actually available out there. So I do encourage you to post your questions throughout the session in the chat, and we'll try and deep dive into as many as we can throughout the Lunch and Learn session. With that, I'm going to be handing over to my colleague, Dan Fernandes, who is one of our technical specialists, but more importantly for today, he comes as one of our accessibility champions. Over to you, Dan.
Thanks, Cassandra. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Dan Fernandes. As Cassandra said, I'm part of the Accessibility Champions Network here in the UK. I'm a 34-year-old, I had to think about that then, white male, and I've had brown hair and brown eyes. So nice to meet you all. So I want to share with you now how we at Microsoft allow people to come as they are and customize their experience across Windows and Office. As you've heard today in many of the sessions, accessibility is something that's really important to Microsoft, and we believe that these features should be built into our products and not have to be bolted on as an afterthought. So I want to share with you now some of those features across Windows 10 and Office. So the first thing to share with you is the ability in center. Now there's on the keyboard, and that opens up the ease of access center here. And you'll be able to access now all the different features that we have, and we group them together around certain interactive needs. So here I can access on the left-hand side all the vision settings that we have. So things like in display, being able to change the size of fonts, being able to change the brightness of the screen. I can also do things like change my mouse cursor. So I've actually changed mine here into a turquoisey color. So I can also change the size of that. And that makes it really easy for me to spot that on the screen. I also have the ability to configure the text cursor to change color. So again, if I need that, I can make that more obvious to me, and I can find that in my different apps that I'm writing in. And again, I can change the color of that as well as the size of that. One feature that a lot of people typically use is the color filters, and this is a great feature designed to help people with color blindness. So in here, I can switch that on. I've got the top three enabled, and I can see the color wheel here, and that will give me a guide on how that's going to look for me. And what's great about this feature is it doesn't just work in Windows, it works across all the applications you open up. So whether you're writing a document, creating a PowerPoint presentation, even watching a video on YouTube, we'll apply those color filters to make it more accessible to you. So it's a really powerful feature. Then coming down the left-hand side, we've got a few other features such as being able to configure the audio experience. So should you need it, you can enable mono audio. So if you're using headphones on a Teams call on your PC, then you can switch that on to make that more accessible. We've got features in here also to allow you to use Cortana, which is our AI assistant on Windows. And you can ask Cortana to do things for you, and she will open up applications, start phone calls, send messages. You can even do things like using eye control bars and just plug them straight into Windows. And we have the software built in now to support them, so you can control Windows with your eyes. So it's really quite powerful and quite cool. Another great feature for customizing your experience is the Focus Assist option. So over on the left-hand side here, down by the time, you can click on the menu and you can open up the menu option, and there's one here called Focus Assist. It's something that I use a lot here at Microsoft because it allows me to stay in my flow and focus in on what I'm doing. So I typically have that switched on, and I have it configured to priority messages only, so important stuff only will come through. And that holds back some of the noise that I have in my email from the day-to-day stuff and allows me to focus in on what I want to do. And I can also filter that down further to only allow alarms, so I'm focused in on what I'm trying to achieve. And then I can switch that back off again when I'm ready to allow the other apps to filter in to my day-to-day. And then finally, whilst in Windows, another great feature is the timeline feature. So down on the taskbar next to the search box, I can click on Task View, and that's going to show me all of the things that I've been working on across all my apps in Windows. It's a great feature to jump back. You can see I can go back to previous dates, so I can jump all the way back to the 19th of October and see what I was working on that day. I can also search up here for apps, files, and things I was doing on those days. It's a great way to be able to jump back into things and get back into the flow. So that was the end for the Windows side of things. Now moving across into Outlook, where we spend a lot of our time. In Outlook here, I can do a few things to make Outlook more accessible for me. So I can configure my experience, such as having things like dictate switched on. So in here, I can actually speak and Outlook will write for me. So I can switch this on. And as I speak, the words will come up on the page, and that will allow me to write the email instead of having to type it. I can also do a few things also like translating into different languages. So again, if I can't speak Dutch, but I want to write an email in Dutch, I can also use the dictate feature for that. And I can also highlight text and ask Outlook to read aloud to me, or I can just press read aloud and it will start reading at the start of an email, out to me. So that works across all the Office apps that we have in the Microsoft 365 products suite. So you'll see that in the ribbon at the top of the page here across all of our applications. What we can also do when we come across to Microsoft Teams is configure this experience as well. So in Teams, we've done a lot of work to make this an accessible app. And one of the great features we have in here is a feature called Together Mode. So in Teams, I can go under More Action and I can switch on Together Mode. And this makes it, again, a more inclusive experience for me. So I can see my colleagues in a more natural setting than I would typically having lots of boxes on the screen. So it allows me to have a more natural conversation with Elena, Cassandra, and everyone else that's got their camera on today on the call. So hello, everyone. Another great feature under the dots here is to switch on live captions. So I can switch these on, and this again will show me the captions on the screen. And you can see we also do speaker attribution with this feature as well, so we can see who's talking and what they're saying. And that's captioning, sorry, in real time, which is again really quite powerful. A couple other things to leave you with before I hand back to my colleagues. Back into Teams again, under the icon up here, I can click on the top left-hand rail. Sorry, the top right-hand corner on the rail on my profile picture. And in here, I can go into the settings and I can do a few things for my configuration here. I can enable dark mode or high contrast mode should I need it. And I can also go into my notifications in Teams specifically, and then also filter down message pop-ups, message sounds. I can also choose when I get notifications and how I get notifications as well within Teams, which is really, really handy. So I hope that gives you a flavour of some of the great features that we have across Office 365 and Windows. I'll hand back to Cassandra now, who will take us through the next stage. Thank you, Cassandra.
Thank you, Dan. That was great. There is so much that we can actually do to make our experience suit us as individuals, and I think that's super important to know. I know that you only got a chance to actually touch on a few of them, but please do continue to use the question and answers, and we are keeping on top of it. So if anyone wants to deep dive into any of these in more detail, or actually cover any that we haven't touched on, do feel free to ask the question. So with that, I'm now going to be handing over to my colleague, Elena Cordova-Russ, who is a modern work customer success manager, and of course, very importantly, another accessibility champion at Microsoft. And Elena is going to be talking to us about how we can leverage the features in Microsoft 365 to develop accessible content. Over to you, Elena.
Thank you very much, Cassandra. Elena, female Latin American with dark hair and dark eyes, in my 40s, wearing glasses. So as Cassandra said, I'm going to be talking to you about some features that you use to develop accessible content. And I'm going to start with PowerPoint, which you can see on my screen, because PowerPoint presentations tend to be high visual, and people who are blind or have low vision can understand them more easily if you create your slides with accessibility in mind. Also, when we make presentations accessible, will benefit not just them, so everyone, because you can unlock your content to everyone, and people with different abilities like myself can read and use your slides. So I'm going to show you how you can find accessible templates in PowerPoint. I just opened the PowerPoint desktop, and I'm here in the main page, and I'm going to click in more themes in order to go and search for more templates. So in here on the search bar, I'm going to put accessible templates. And then I'm going to find a range of different templates. You can go and choose the one you like or you need. And then you're going to just, for instance, if I click in here, you're going to find the presentation almost ready. You just need to include, of course, your content and any changes that you might need. You can see in here that this is an accessible template. But maybe you don't want to use this. Maybe you need to have your own company logo, or you want to add your own information. So maybe you want to start from scratch. So I'm going to start with a blank presentation. So I'm going to start adding some information in here. And as you can see, design ideas starts working on the background. Maybe I want to insert an online image in here. And please tell me if you can hear me okay. I can see a little bit of background. So I'm going to choose an apple as I don't have a lot of creativity today. I'm going to continue here. As you can see, immediately in the background, designer works to match the content to professionally design layouts. But also, if I create another slide, I'm going to include my agenda. I don't know, 9 a.m. introduction. Then and results, and then 11 launch. So the idea is just for you to see some of the examples that you're going to find when you're going to start having a different content in your presentation. In this case, I'm going to choose this one so you can see a little bit better. So the images that relate to the content that I just added. So very quickly, you're going to have very professional looking presentations that is going to help, but also when you are creating your content. At this moment, I'm not going to create anymore. I don't want to bore you with that. I want to show you how you can check here if your presentation has been accessible. So you can run the accessibility checker in PowerPoint. So before you send it, you make sure that it's inclusive. But because, for instance, PowerPoint does not automatically generate all text for drawn images, such as diagrams or icons. So if you want to add an image that is an icon, a screenshot, etc., you need to add the alt text manually. So I'm going to show you. I go to review, and then I find the check accessibility option. And in here on the right-hand side, I'm going to get the suggestions that I need to add, revise, come back. If you're not really familiar with this information, you can click in additional information in here, and it's going to tell you more in detail the options or the reasons why these have been marked as that you need to revise them. For instance, in here, I'm going to click, and it's missing my alternative text. So I just add a description if I want, or maybe it's just a decorative one. In this case, lack of creativity. So I want to mark this as decorative. And then I go through everything. You can find all the information in here, and that's the way to run it in PowerPoint. But also, you don't only have this in PowerPoint. You can also do when you create your emails. So let me show you how to check that your email, before you send your message or share maybe your document or a spreadsheet, you can run the accessibility checker to make sure that your content is easy for people of all abilities to read and edit. So let me show you an example now. I'm going to create a new message, and I'm going to mention my colleague Christy. And if you can see, maybe as I cannot read very well, I'm going to make it a little bit bigger quickly. You can see that when I mention her name, I just see at the bottom, at the top, sorry, a message saying that Christy prefers accessible content. So check for accessibility issues. So that means that Christy has turned on that request in Outlook. I'm going to show you how to do it. But first, I'm going to show you very quickly how to run the accessibility checker. Please send me your expenses as soon as possible. So before I do it, this is the web version of Outlook. If you're to see right in review, but in here, I'm going to click on the three dots, and then I'm going to find check for accessibility issues. And it's going to be exactly the same, quite similar to what we saw just now in PowerPoint. And it's going to give you the suggestions on the right-hand side. You can fix it, etc. But let me show you how can you turn on to request accessible content. If you're using your desktop Outlook, so when you go to info right at the top next to home and you go to the account information, exactly at the top of that, you're going to find access this account on the web. You click in there and it's going to take you to here out. And in order to enable that, you go to settings. I'm here in this little circle. And then you're going to click view all Outlook settings here at the bottom. And in there, you're going to find in general. I know that I'm moving from one side to the other. I'm going to click in general. And in there, you're going to find accessibility. In that section, you can tick in here, and that's the way to ask senders to send that content that is accessible. That's what Kirsty did. She has this tick, so everyone, every time that they are going to send an email to her or receive, they're going to get that message. So that is in Outlook. And now I'm going to show you one of my favorite features, a new one. So it's in Word. Let me just move you to Word. And it's called Rewrite Suggestions. And this is a new offer of editor in Word. And you know when you know what you want to say, but you can't seem to find the right way? Myself, as having English as my second language, sometimes I do have the idea, but nothing comes to my mind. Or I keep repeating same word in my sentences or my structure of my emails or my documents. I need to use this feature because when you use it, let me just show you how. Rewrite is going to give you options on the more clarity or sentences that can have more impact. But it's going to continue staying true to the original email or sentence. In this case, I'm going to choose if my big mouse allows me, and I'm going to right click, and then you're going to find in there rewrite suggestions. So on the right hand side, it's going to give me options. So it's going to leave the original one right at the top. On the left hand side, it's highlighting exactly what I'm choosing, and then it's going to give me suggestions on the bottom. So if I can change this, if I want, even it's going to help me to read out loud again. It could be for different needs. In my case, with having the different language is going to help me. Maybe the suggestion is a word that I haven't used before or I haven't heard before. So it's going to help me here to read out loud or to see how it looks if I make the change in my sentence. So those are the features that I wanted to show you today. I hope you have enjoyed it, and I'm going to pass it back to you, Cassandra. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Elena. Do feel free to stop sharing. I'll share in a second from my end. It's great to actually see. To be honest, I never get tired of seeing how amazing some of these features are. And I've seen the chat as also kind of people saying, you know, how much they love some of these and how far we've come as well. So let's not forget that actually we continuously improve on these features. I particularly love Designer. Whenever I'm about to start a new presentation, I can assure you that nowadays I don't go without Designer anymore because it just creates that visual, impactful presentation so easily. I also have a little trick actually that I use for myself, and I'm going to share in case that is of any use to yourselves as well. But I add to my signature a little statement. I put, this email has been checked against accessibility best practices. So what that does to me is two things. One is raising awareness about the tool itself, but it also reminds me before I send any emails that I must check for accessibility errors. Right, so now we've looked at customization of our experience and how we develop content. So I'm going to be talking to you about how we can go about consuming the content in an accessible manner. And I think my colleague Dan earlier had already covered in a little bit of detail how we as users of the technology can actually customize our experience of Windows 10 through the Ease of Access Center. And it is within the Ease of Access Center that we find features such as Magnifier. A magnifier is great for someone, for example, with low vision, or you can't see the smaller print, or even sometimes think of most of us now working remotely and potentially working from our small laptops, that smaller screen. What Magnifier does for us, it also follows the focus of the mouse on the screen and it automatically zooms in to set the percentage. So both increasing the size of the cursor and the text on the displays. So let me show you how I'm going to be doing that. Okay, it's taking a little bit of time, but hopefully you'll be able to see. I'm going to, can you see my screen? I'm going to assume that you do. I can see nodding, great. So you have a number of ways of actually accessing the feature. So for Magnifier, you can actually use your mouse and go into the start and then click onto Ease of Access Center and move there. Or I could use Cortana and actually call for the Ease of Access Center to be open. The other thing that I can do is just automatically using my shortcut, I can actually go and do Windows and plus, and it will automatically kick in. It should. It takes a little bit of time whilst we are actually sharing screen, but it automatically kicks in the actual magnifier. So you can see that as I move my screen, the mouse actually moves with me. The other thing that you can see is that I had it preset at 300% and therefore it automatically jumped into it. There are a couple of other things that are within Magnifier as well. I'm going to do it a little bit farther out, and I absolutely love the helicopter view. So by simply going and clicking Control Alt and spacebar, it actually pulls out from the screen and it allows me to see everything. So I'm going to repeat it again. Control Alt spacebar, and then I can move away from that part and into a different area into my screen. Super simple to use. I'm going to come out of the of this view for a second, just so you can actually see also the read aloud that I believe someone else was actually talking on the chat. Within Magnifier itself, I can actually click play, or I can also use Control, Alt, and Enter, and it will actually start reading aloud. I'm going to make sure you can actually hear. Just give me 1 second, because I don't think you can you? There's a slight delay on the on my mouse whilst I'm actually doing this, but I want to make sure that you can actually hear the audio. Can anyone confirm that you heard the audio? No? Okay, so let me just do it. There it is. Now we can. So again, I'm just going to go into Windows Plus. That's going to take me into Magnifier. Again, there is a couple of delays because I'm presenting at the moment. As I go up, I then can click on the play button and then you'll hear it.
Cannot read from here.
Okay, it's telling me that I cannot read from here because it's actually a stream. But again, super useful to actually just have that within the tool itself. There's a couple of other things that we can do in order to consume data. This is just a normal Edge browser. So again, we can actually customize all of our experience throughout Windows 10, but also within the applications themselves. Something that we call read aloud. So you saw me using read aloud a minute ago within the Magnifier tool itself, but I can simply come into a page where there is text and I can right click, or I can actually do Control Shift U and then click on read aloud.
Reach large audiences with video and interactive discussion.
One of the most beautiful things about read aloud, it now actually includes neural text-to-speech. And the difference between the neural text-to-speech to other languages you may have heard before is it's not robotic. It's actually a lot more engaging for people to be able to listen and consume information. So again, that's great. And also you have now the options of different accents. So I can actually have the English US, English UK, and kind of adapt to what I need and adapting to the audience. So another thing that you may have seen within reading aloud is as I play it, have a look at what
Discussion
was highlighted.
Provide a seamless experience across web and mobile.
This is a proven methodology that uses dual senses. So it uses the visual and it uses the audio. So what we can actually do is we see that as the person is actually reading out, it highlights the word that is actually reading. So again, aiding comprehension. Another thing that I'm going to do, I'm going to quickly magnify just to show you where I'm going. So Windows Plus is going to magnify. And I'm going to go at the right top of my window, just by the browser. And there is something called Reading View or Immersive Reader. You can access it by clicking function 9 as well. I'm going to come out of Magnifier by clicking Windows and Escape. And I'm going to click into the Reading View. There are a couple of things that are happening here automatically. You can see that automatically this page has actually been decluttered. All of the visual noise that existed previously is gone. We still have the read aloud feature that we just mentioned a minute ago, but we also have things like text preferences. I can, for example, increase the sizing of the text. I can also add text spacing, and this is, again, another proven methodology that is proven to help with the decoding and the comprehension of wording. The other thing that I can actually do is change the color of the background, and this is super important because not everyone can actually tolerate or consume information really well with a white background. So having the option of actually putting something that is suitable for me is super important. Not only that, we have grammar tools. Within grammar tools, what I'm able to do is actually say, you know what, I want you to break down those words further to help me really decode them into syllables. And that's what's just been done. Then I've got parts of the speech. I could equally just highlight nouns, verbs, adjectives, and even say, show me the labels. This is incredible, especially if you think of those that are emerging readers or those that are from a different background, like myself, learning a new language. I'm going to come out of there for a second. And I'm going to then show you some of the reading preferences. And this is one of my favorites. With line focus, within the immersive reader, we've already decluttered the view. But with line focus, what we're doing is actually saying how much of that text do I want to see at once? And I can choose between one line, a small paragraph, or a larger paragraph. Again, what it could happen is that when I click read aloud,
deliver compelling live and on-demand virtual.
It will actually move with the line focus too. So super, super clever. And the last thing that I'm going to show you here is actually picture dictionary. And I think Jessica Refuse actually mentioned it on her session earlier today. Within picture dictionary, one of the things that you can do is as you move through the text, a little star wand actually comes up. And if I click on it, it's going to give me a visual representation of the word. Again, super useful for those that are emerging learners, emerging readers, and those that are learning the language for the first time. Not only those, but amongst the people that can actually make a lot of use from this. The good thing about Immersive Reader, and I'd say, is it's not just available within Edge. You can go into OneNote, you can go into Word, you can actually access it from across a multiple number of applications. I would also say that Immersive Reader is an Azure cognitive service. So you can actually get the API and integrate it with your own application, ensuring that your application then becomes a lot more accessible to all of your audience. So super simple to actually integrate. But we don't always spend our time just reading content into Edge or Word or whatever it may be. Like we are right now, we are in a meeting, and already Dan has already shown us a few things that we can do to make a meeting quite accessible. You know, for example, the closed caption. I don't have to tell anyone that I'm going to be switching on the closed captioning. I can simply go into the ellipsis, click on, and you can see I'm walking in here, and as Dan actually mentioned, the turn on live captions, and again automatically goes in there, and you can see already the speaker attribution actually happening. Another thing that someone mentioned earlier in the chat is if by clicking on recording, which again I won't be able to show you because we're already recording, but if by clicking on recording, I'm actually enabling a number of things. I'm not only enabling for self-paced learning, but I'm also enabling a more flexible workforce, allowing people to not be dependent on being present on a meeting, but actually managing their own schedule as it suits them. So when you click on recording, something happens automatically. And I'm going to show you where that is. The video itself goes into stream. Two things happen within that clicking recording, which is just one step that you have to take within the Teams meeting. A transcript is already being generated for me. I can even download that transcript afterwards to make use for other places as well that I may want to post the video. Also, you'll see in here that I've got the captions. So again, captions and transcript automatically have been added to the video, something that you can then make available to the rest of your team to be able to consume at their own pace. And the other thing that I would say is transcript is actually coming to Teams. So some of you may already have it, but it is coming to Teams. So automatically, as you start recording, you will see the transcript actually taking place within the window. So it will be showing where that meeting chat is. There is a transcript window as well that will be shown. So again, some fantastic features that are coming in order to actually just be part of your day-to-day. And I'm going to show you one last thing. So bear with me a second, because I'm going to actually change between my laptop and my telephone. So hopefully, technology providing, I'll be able to do it quite easily. So I'm going to start screen mirroring. Give us a second. And let's see if it happens. If someone can actually just acknowledge that it's happening, it'll be super useful.
Yep, we can see you loud and clear.
Perfect. Excellent. So I'm going to show you one last thing, because I think it's nowadays even more important than ever, you know, that we spend so much time indoors that sometimes just being able to go for a walk and actually do things on the move is quite important. So I'm going to show you play my emails. So I'm going to go into Outlook. I won't spend too much time. This is actually my Outlook and my phone. So obviously I've got my details in there. But what I'm going to do is, you can see right here, there is a little play that I'm just clicking.
Right now, you've got 7 new emails to hear about. This will take about 5 minutes. About 45 minutes ago, David White sent a response about EP.
And you can see what it's already doing. Without me having to do anything, I can automatically start reviewing my emails, almost like a form of triage of emails. I can also delete them, and I can also flag them. I can do all of these actually touch-free. I can do it with my voice. I could actually say, hey, Cortana, and it should actually kick in. It will show, it's just a little bit delayed. There we go. It's actually trying
I'm
to.
sorry, I can't help with that here.
There you go.
You can say things like reply, archive it, or skip it.
And those are the options that you can actually do with play with emails.
I'll archive that one.
And there you go. It's actually done more than I expected it to. So I'm going to stop the mirroring now. But that's everything that I've got today to actually show you with regards to consuming data. But again, we've only touched on a few of those features that are available to you. So I'll open up now to questions. I know that the chat is being super active, which is amazing to see, but feel free to jump in at any time or use your hand up. Thank you, Andy. Any questions from anyone?
Hi, this is Ruby from Guide Dogs. I'm sorry I joined a wee bit late the meeting, but it looks as if there are really good features there. I popped a question into the chat. Accessing the closed captions and transcriptions is really helpful, but we've had issues where once we've recorded the video, it pops into the chat, and then the video has trouble uploading to stream. And I'm just wondering if this has been an issue before, or if you might have any tips on how this can be fixed so that we can access the transcript from stream.
I can take that one, Cassandra.
Thank you.
I think by the sounds of it, it could be a configuration issue where you haven't got access rights to upload videos into stream. It's quite a common challenge in some organizations where they don't enable the wider Microsoft features, only just Teams. So I'd suggest talking to IT and asking them to switch that on for you. And then you should be able to record your meetings and save that transcript up into stream.
Okay, so it's a feature, an admin feature that should be enabled from their side. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, a configuration thing. No worries.
Cheers.
Thank you, Rubina. Michelle, you've got your hand up?
Oh, hi. Yes. a problem with JAWS when you're sharing a screen. We either lose the sound, you know, when you share audio, you lose the screen, or the screen goes black, and then we have to sort of log out and start the meeting. It just doesn't seem to work very well. Do you know if that's a low bug or?
Hector, do you have any comments on that?
No, but if you send me a quick message in the chat with some details, I can do a quick bit of digging while I'm online. Yeah. Otherwise, it's one that will take you to the Disability Answer Desk and get you the support you need. Okay.
So who do I message? Sorry.
So within the Teams chat, you should just be able to @ me at Hector Minto.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I've been sending
messages.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
As I say, we use this a lot at the university, and it's my job to deal with all the problems, you see. So that's why I end up. I'm sort of complaining a lot in your box.
Can I ask, do you already use the Disability Answer Desk?
We have no, actually. I mean, I've been dealing with one of your representatives through the university, and we went up to your office in central London. Yeah. Hence, I was talking about that really major problem with colour schemes.
Yeah.
They demonstrated the themes there, and I proved to them that actually it didn't solve the problem. And then they mentioned this thing about the voting section, but that is actually really disabling, not only the fact that it's been removed, but by expecting people to go in and vote, something that actually is a really fundamental need in terms of accessibility.
Yeah, that level of colour granularity just got left behind a bit, and so our challenge is to get it back. You know, getting that stuff back is harder than actually kind of designing it in from the start. So, but let's continue to chat and to communicate in the chat, and I'm really happy to give you my email as well, so we can kind of take it a bit further. Okay.
Thank you, Hector. Thank you, Michelle. Andrew.
Yeah, hi. I just wanted to clarify. Read aloud is that only available in Edge and 6.5, or can be used in other products as well?
I'll have to double check unless Hector, you have an answer on that. That is obviously across M365 applications available. I don't know whether there is an API available for it.
Specifically for Read Aloud.
Yeah.
So Read Aloud is part of the immersive reader. So you've got two things. You've got text to speech is an Azure service, as is the immersive reader, and it's built into that. So it all depends. If you're writing software, creating products, you can leverage the immersive reader and push that in. I don't know if that answers your question.
Yeah, no, it does. Yeah, that's fine. Thank you.
Great. All right.
Okay, thank you for that. Any other questions? Anything that you haven't seen that you want to actually cover before we close off for the day?
Hi, Cassandra.
Hi.
Hi. I was late to the session, and I've got a very basic question, and that's how do you use the immersive? How do you get the immersive reader working in Edge? Is it a book with a audio symbol on? Yeah, I tried that on lots of websites like gov.uk and things, and I get the book icon, but I don't get the speaker on top. What am I doing wrong?
So once you click on the book icon, it should actually give you the different options. It is dependent, the immersive reader working is dependent on the website and how it's actually been set up too. But it could be, it sounds like you're having that same problem across a number of different sites. Are you familiar with this problem?
Yeah, so if you're getting the book icon, then you're getting the read aloud option. So are you getting the read aloud option, but the speech isn't generating?
I clicked on it, but it didn't do anything. But I will persevere. But is there an example on our website where you know it?
BBC type page, proportion page. You may want to go and talk to your system administrator and see if there's anything locked down in your system.
Okay.
The other thing you can try, if you just on a personal device, is go and grab the Canary or the beta versions of Edge and go and try those as well.
Okay, thank you very much.
All right, no worries.
Thank you.
I see we've got a couple of hands up, Cassandra. I think Andrew Coleman was there first, and then Emma, I think, put a hand up afterwards.
Andrew, you still have your hand up? Is that from before? Or?
Oh yeah, that's from before. Sorry, do I have to put
No
it
problem.
down?
No worries.
I'll just say a really good session as well. I'll put that comment in while I'm on. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, Andrew. Emma?
Hi there. Sorry if this has already been covered. I joined this a bit late, but in the little videos before lunch, accessibility checker was mentioned, and I'm just not finding it in my Outlook, and I wanted to find out if there was a way to keep it permanently on my Outlook emails to apply to every email.
So accessibility checker can be enabled by default, but it needs to be enabled by the organization. So it would be something that you would need to follow up with your system administrator potentially.
Okay.
So it would have been the decision to actually potentially not have it continuously running. Or it may be if you're not finding it in Outlook, again, it could be that the actual intelligence services that is used behind it is not being enabled within the organization. So again, I think it goes down to settings more than anything else.
Okay, that's really helpful. Thank you.
No worries. David?
Hi there. I'm a web developer, and I'm just wondering if there's any advice or guidance that you could point me to for how to best structure my pages to make sure that it works well with the likes of the compatibility or the immersive reader.
Yeah, so there is a couple of things that we can probably do, and I'll ask Hector to maybe add a little bit, but I don't know whether you're familiar with Accessibility Insights.
Yeah.
Okay, so that will be probably the tool that I will recommend, and kind of ensuring that you run past the accessibility insights to kind of understand the different areas that potentially the site itself is failing. Hector, do you have any other recommendations for David?
Yeah, so but the other question was, how do you optimize to invoke the immersive reader? Is that the other question?
Yeah. So, I mean,
Yeah.
a standard page, if it's obviously well structured and complies with all the WCAG standards and stuff, I'm imagining it will work quite nicely with the immersive reader. But it's just understanding if there's anything above and beyond that you can do just to make sure that that's giving the users the best possible experience.
So actually, it's not as simple as that. So the way that the immersive reader works is once it's got a sufficient proportion of text to links, it will see it as a text page and therefore worthy of invoking the reader. Yep. So really just it's almost like trial and error a little bit with it. What we sometimes, I wouldn't worry so much about your top page, because remember that you can right click and read aloud anywhere on any menu page. So you don't need necessarily the full immersive reader experience at that point. The challenge, I think, with most websites is when you go down a couple of clicks, in that tree, and you don't get the immersive reader there. That's when you're actually kind of maintaining far too many links in that page to invoke the reader. So it's a bit of suck it and see it, and I've never seen any published documentation about best practice, but you've triggered me, so leave it with me.
Brilliant, thank you.
Thank you, David. And last question, because we have only 1 minute left on the session. Michelle?
Hi, actually, it's not a question. It's an offer of help, actually. Last year, myself and a couple of colleagues put together a guide on Teams and using Teams across different platforms and devices. I would be happy to share it with people if anyone is interested. I'll put my email address in the box, and I really am happy to share it for people to use because it might be useful to people.
100%. Thank you, Michelle. I think always we learn from how each and every one of us actually use differently the tools and what you found yourself to be best practices. So please do share. I'm sure that more than one person would actually love to have a look at what you've kind of done on your end.
Yeah, as I say, we're not precious about our materials, anything to help other people. So please just email me and I'll send it.
Sure.
My address is in the chat box now.
Perfect. Excellent. Okay, so that's all we have time for today, but obviously do feel free to continue the conversation within the chat itself and within the networking as well. And, you know, do ping Hector, myself, Dan, or Elena at any point, should you have any questions that we can potentially help with. And don't forget that you do have EDAD, that's EDAD, at Microsoft.com. That is our disability answer desk for any questions related to your own use, your users, your organizations. So again, they are a great place to kind of start any of those conversations. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks all.
Bye-bye.
Bye.